Hi, my name is Lisa, and I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, diffuse B-cell. My first diagnosis was in May of 2015, and then again in August of 2019. When I was initially diagnosed, I was diagnosed with the diffuse B-cell, and my first line of treatment was R-CHOP. Went through it very well, did the 6 rounds, and was able to achieve complete remission. And then 4 or 5 years later, it came back. And at that point, the course of treatment was to do an autologous stem cell transplant, using my own bone marrow to get rid of the cancer after a course of rice chemotherapy. However, halfway through the rice chemotherapy, I did not achieve enough remission to be able to proceed on with an autologous stem cell transplant. You have to hit 50%, and I did not hit a 50% reduction in tumor burden. So my next course of treatment was CAR T, which I did at here locally by my home in November of 2019. The doctor, I recall her saying very candidly that it is a very aggressive lymphoma. However, it's a very treatable type of cancer. The exact phrase she used was, it's kind of that they'll give me R-CHOP and it's the peanut butter and jelly. If it's going to respond, it's one of those cancers that responds very nicely once, presented with treatment. So I think hearing that kind of helped, and the fact again that I was so sick, anything that was going to help me feel better, I was game for. The doctor was assigned to me, and I was just really fortunate to be able to have a great relationship with her. As soon as I got out of the first time around, as soon as I got out of the hospital, that was the first doctor that was able to see me, and we hit it off very well. And she actually kept me on as a patient, and I'm still her patient now, almost 6 years later. Well, the first time I was not very involved in my treatment options to the least bit. It was presented to me as, this is what we need to do, and we need to do it fast, because again, DLBCL is so aggressive, and I was regressing pretty quickly. It was starting to affect a lot of other part of my body. So they needed to get me taken care of quickly. The second time around, I had a really in-depth conversation with my oncologist. But again, I think we had such a great relationship that I trusted what she said. And when she transferred me, because the type of CAR T that I had, or even the stem cell transplant, wasn't available through my hospital, they had to send me to a different physician. That team was amazing and explained everything to me in such a great detail that I really didn't feel like there was a reason for me to explore out, because my questions were all answered, and it almost felt like the treatment was tailored to me. So the big difference between my journey with R-CHOP versus rice, I think for me, when I started R-CHOP, when I was first diagnosed, I was so sick that anything made me feel better. So my base of comparison was different. I literally danced through R-CHOP. I mean, there was moments, especially during chemo, where I would get nauseous, but I felt like there were rounds every 3 weeks. So those first couple of days after chemo, I didn't feel that great, but I'd start feeling better. And then, 2-3 weeks, I'd get my next dose and it was okay. Rice to me was relentless. I went from having chemo one day every 3 weeks with R-CHOP, to rice, where it's basically every day for 5 days, and you had maybe a week off during the month, and that was tough. The physical side effects from rice were pretty intense. The nausea, the metallic taste in the mouth, things that I experienced with R-CHOP, but times 100 with rice. And that was tough. So going through the side effects for R-CHOP when I did the first time around, again, they weren't that bad. I mean, they were, but I would take my Zofran or my medications to help with the nausea, maybe some mints, and I'd be able to kind of rest it off for 3 or 4 days, and then I'd start to feel better. With rice, because it was so relentless and the treatments were so back to back, honestly, a lot of teas and jellos, and my family was great. They all picked up my slack. I wasn't able to really contribute like mom does, clean the house and do laundry. My mom and my husband did that. But physically, it was all medication the doctor could give me. So if it was Zofran, that's what I was taking. I had mints throughout my whole house, and that helped with the nausea. I got neuropathy, peripheral neuropathy, only the one time when I first, with my first battle with RCHOP. And I noticed it in the evening, so I sent an email to my doctor that night, and we regrouped the following morning, and her and I spoke about it. She was great. She gave me a checklist of different things to watch out for, and I just referred back to it. And I actually wanted to say I kept it on the refrigerator or something. And so when I saw the toes on there, and that's, neuropathy, tingling in your extremities, my toes was where I had the neuropathy. I emailed her, and then in the morning she and I spoke, and she started me on like a vitamin B something. I don't know if it was B6, I think. And then we did a wait and see approach, and thankfully it did heal itself, and there was nothing else. But she was very open with me about some of the side effects, that above and beyond the hair loss and all of that. So when my cancer came back, again, it was so many years of complete remission. For it to come back, it was a complete and utter shock. I actually thought I had made it to the finish line. I mean, 5 years, you think that's it. That's your golden ticket. So I was completely shocked. But after that, they discussed options, and they gave me my different courses, and they said, if this doesn't work, we can move on to CAR-T, and if CAR-T doesn't work, there are also some trials and other things that we can do as well. So knowing that there are other options, that helped me kind of process. And like I've always told even some of my other friends in the fight, I say, I want to hear every option they have. It's when they don't have any options is when I'll worry. I had never heard about CAR-T ever in my life at all. And it was introduced when I went to discuss the autologous stem cell transplant. And the doctor said, if this doesn't work, there's always CAR-T. And he explained to me what CAR-T was, but kind of a very brief overview of it, because again, he was convinced that I was going to respond. I found out October 16th, I'll never forget it, that wasn't the case. And I was a mess. And they called me and said I did not respond. And then the doctor from that team, the autologous team, also was the lead doctor for the CAR-T. He called me and just says, relax, take a deep breath. This is another option. And then kind of proceeded to tell me some of the benefits of CAR-T. The hospital stay alone for me was night and day. It was almost going to be 4 weeks for the autologous, and I was out in 12 days with the CAR-T. Through my journey, my support team has been amazing. I really can't say enough. My husband is truly the embodiment of through sickness and in health. My boys, I've got my sons, and they were absolutely phenomenal. My mom and my really good friends. And of course, I'm incredibly religious. So I'm going to say, I'm just thankful to God for that he saw me through and he helped me through this.